My name is Kevin Klerks, and I am the candidate for the People's Party of Canada here in Huron Bruce. I was born and raised in Bruce County in the small town of Chesley, Ontario. I'm proud to live in what I believe to be the most beautiful part of southwestern Ontario. I've been in retail for over 30 years now, doing everything from pushing shopping carts and bagging groceries to managing a team of people and running my own stores. I've lived and worked in Nunavut, Alberta, throughout this area, and even in Ohio. I currently live near Tiverton in the hamlet of Inver-Huron and commute to Port Elgin every day for work. I stand for what I support, not for what I oppose. I am a proud Canadian. Canada is and has always been a diverse country. We have 2 official languages, a beautiful rainbow of colors, religions, ages, genders, and mental and physical abilities. I saw this living in Ontario, Nunavut, and Alberta. We are different in so many ways except one. We are all Canadian. And every Canadian has the right to equal benefit of the law without discrimination or special treatment. It's right there in our charter. I do not believe that diversity is our strength. I believe that the unity of our diversity is our strength. Every individual is equal and united under the flag of our great nation of Canada. It is what makes our nation strong and free. The People's Party of Canada wants to lower immigration to sustainable levels and accept a majority of economic immigrants that will help to sustain and regrow our economy. We will pay off the deficit in 2 years, putting an end to corporate bailouts and wasteful foreign aid programs. We will end agreements with the UN regarding climate change, encouraging provinces and territories to develop their own unique and sensible plans to adapt to our ever-changing climate. We will lower personal and corporate taxes and give the GST to provinces to fund their own healthcare systems. We will give veterans the respect and dignity they deserve, and by legislation prove that they will never ask for more than we can give them. We will respect the rights of gun owners and only treat the criminals like criminals. We will repair the bridges between the federal government and First Nations, guaranteeing equal rights and responsibilities to the Aboriginal people, ending third world conditions and reserves with higher standards of clean water and safe living conditions expected by all Canadians. The pillars that founded the People's Party of Canada, individual freedom, respect, fairness, and personal responsibility, are those fundamental truths that I hold near and dear to my heart. We are the principled alternative. We will bring common sense back to our government and our beautiful, strong nation of Canada. Please consider voting for me, Kevin Klerks, and the People's Party of Canada, and together we will save our Canada.
Hi, I'm Ben Lobb, your Conservative candidate for Huron Bruce. I was born and raised in Clinton, Ontario. I attended CHSS High School in Clinton. I attended University at Carleton for 1 year and 3 years at Lee University in Cleveland, Tennessee, where I played baseball on the university baseball team. After graduation, I moved back home and I worked in my father's auctioneer business, as well as Westcast Industries in Wingham, Ontario. I also worked for a software company in the finance department 1 year, just before the 2008 election. Samantha and myself have 2 young sons, Calvin and Caden, who are full of lots of energy, and we're very proud of them. This election is a very important election. All elections are important, but perhaps this election from our country's finances could be the most important. Our federal debt is now over $700 billion, and the Liberal government is proposing a very high spending budget the next 4 years that could raise the deficit to close to $30 billion a year and push our national debt close to $800 billion. This is unsustainable with interest costs that could become, in a couple years, the highest expenditure of the federal budget, even higher than healthcare transfers to our province. So we need to deal with this issue. We need to deal with it head on, and we have a plan to get to balance in 5 years that is fair for all, that maintains transfers for healthcare, that maintains transfers for social spending, but really delivers results for you. And some of the items that we've included in our election platform is to make life more affordable. And we've introduced a universal tax cut that will deal with the lowest federal tax bracket, and it will reduce the tax bracket from 15% to 13.5%, which would put a family of 2, the tax savings close to $1,000. We've also proposed removing the GST off home heating and energy bills. That will provide some savings as well. In addition to that, we'll cut the carbon tax. And for seniors, we're raising the age credit limit to $1,000 to help seniors out to make life more affordable. And for families, of course, raising children these days is very expensive. For maternity benefits for new parents, we'll eliminate the income tax off that to help save at some of the most expensive times in your life. And we'll also introduce a fitness and arts tax credit that will help offset some of the costs of keeping your children active in sports and fitness and arts as well, and music. So we feel those are very important components, and a principle that says $1 in your pocket is better spent than $1 circulating through the government bureaucracy. In addition to that, we have perhaps one of our best environmental platforms that we've ever had, certainly since I've been running in federal elections. It's a tremendous environmental plan with 3 guiding principles. One that focuses on green technology, the second principle focuses on a cleaner and greener environment, and the third principle really is telling the rest of the world about our great story, that our resources are extracted in an environmentally ethical way with the highest labor standards in the world. And so we have a great story to tell, whether it's oil, gas, LNG. We have a tremendous story to tell, and we need to encourage the rest of the world that if they value the environment, that they should be looking at Canadian resources. So we're really excited about our opportunities for a new Conservative government in a couple weeks. We're working very hard for you here locally in Huron Bruce. We feel like we're running a great campaign. We've knocked on thousands and thousands of doors, and we've put up more signs on personal property than we ever have, over 1,000 election signs. So what I would ask you is, on October 21st, I would ask you to vote Ben Lobb, vote Conservative. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions in the meantime, please call our campaign office at 519-612-5622. Thanks very much, and have a great day.
Hi, I'm Tony McQuail, your NDP candidate in Huron Bruce. I moved to this area when I was 18 in 1971 as a hired hand working on a dairy farm outside Goderich. I went back to school while I was still working on that farm and got my grade 13 at Goderich District Collegiate Institute, and then went on to university, studying at both the universities of Guelph and Waterloo. But I bought my farm in 1973, so I was farming, going to university, and we were building a passive solar home at that time with my wife Fran of 44 years. We have 2 grown daughters now, 2 son-in-laws, and 2 grandchildren. We've been on the farm for all this time, but I've also worked in many other things in our community. I've been involved with the Federation of Agriculture and the Huron Local of the National Farmers Union. And I've also helped start the Ecological Farmers Association of Ontario 40 years ago in 1979. I first became involved in politics when I realized as a young farmer that the Liberals and Conservatives were trading speeches in the House of Commons. They were fighting inflation caused by high energy prices as a result of the quadrupling of oil prices during the Arab oil embargo, with high interest rates, which were crippling for farmers, small business people, and homeowners. The NDP had a different strategy. They said we should be fighting inflation caused by energy pricing, by energy efficiency and conservation, and by shifting to renewable energy. That made sense to me, and I couldn't understand why in opposition the Liberals and Conservatives would oppose high interest rates, but when in power they would impose high interest rates, which added to the inflationary pressure and were devastating to the working real community of the economy. And then I discovered that they both got big money from the banks in donations, and the NDP didn't accept money from the banks, and that got me interested in the NDP. So I ran in 1980 as the NDP candidate, working for renewable energy, energy conservation, and that seemed like a lot of good idea to me at the time. It's been 40 years, and we're still in a situation where we need to deal with energy efficiency and renewable energy in a much more aggressive way if we're going to deal with climate change. And we're dealing with a situation where the power of the ultra-wealthy has increased, and the degree to which our economy has become imbalanced is even greater. So in this election, I'm talking about 3 key words for me: representation, regeneration, and redistribution. Representation, because at its best, democracy lets us find our collective wisdom, but it only works if everybody's represented. And our current electoral system will mean that in this election, over 9 million Canadians will cast votes that don't count for anything. And that's just not right. So the NDP is calling for creating a mixed member proportional system that will ensure that everyone's vote counts every time. I'm talking about regeneration because we need to get better care of the planet if it will take care of us. I worked for the Minister of Agriculture in the 90s and helped develop the Environmental Farm Plan. We need to develop a regenerative farm plan that helps farmers sequester carbon in the soil through increasing soil organic matter by their management systems, increasing biological diversity on their farms, and increasing the resilience of their farms, because as you increase soil organic matter, you increase the tolerance of both flooding and drought situations. So it could be a win-win-win situation for farmers. And I'm talking about redistribution because for too long our economy has concentrated the wealth at the top. My father used to say, money's like manure. It does the most good when you spread it around. And in our New Deal for People, we're talking about taxing the uber wealthy, the ultra wealthy, so that we have the money to put into programs that will help people all across Canada. When 2 people control more wealth than the bottom 11 million of us as Canadians, it's time for a new deal for people. It's time for the NDP. So I hope you'll work with us and vote with us on October 21st for the NDP, because we are going to make some real changes given an opportunity that will help address the inequity in our society and also help us deal actively and immediately with the challenge of climate change. We don't have another 40 years to wait and waste while we switch conservative and liberal governments. If you want things to change, you need to make a different vote. Thank you so much. I'm Tony McQuail, your NDP candidate in Huron Bruce.
Hello everyone, my name is Allan Thompson. I'm the Liberal candidate running in Huron Bruce. Thanks for tuning in. If you're like me, you're probably getting a bit tired of politics and electioneering and mudslinging, so I just wanted to spend a few minutes to introduce myself, tell you a bit about who I am, why I'm running, why I think you should vote for me to be your MP in Huron Bruce, and how the options that are out there differ. So my name is Allan Thompson. I was born and raised on a farm near Glamis, and I learned a lot from my parents, but I think what stands out most, I learned about the importance of being positive in life and the value of hard work. And I'm ready to work hard for you. I think people deserve to have a really proactive, ambitious member of Parliament here in Huron Bruce, somebody who's going to stand up for people who live in our rural communities and small towns. I've been out knocking on doors for a long time. You might remember I ran in 2015 for the Liberal Party, and I've been campaigning virtually ever since. I've been to every small town, virtually every community in this riding, and I hear from a lot of people that they're tired of all the big decisions being made in the city. They want somebody who's going to stand up for them and be heard. I think it has been a long time since Huron Bruce has had a strong voice in Ottawa. We need a stronger voice. And I want to be a voice for rural communities within a Liberal government. And I think it's time for a change in Huron Bruce, and I can deliver that change. And what I hear when I'm talking to people, they are concerned about affordability and the cost of living. They are concerned about climate change and the lack of safe, reliable transportation in our rural communities, affordable housing. You know, there are a lot of people who are sort of struggling to get by. And I think when it comes time to vote, that's where you're going to see, really, there are competing visions that are now in front of you. And one of them, the one that I represent, is about moving forward. We really need to keep moving forward in this country. We cannot afford to go back. And that's why I'm running under a slogan, choose forward. And an alternative is what's put forward by the Conservative Party, by Andrew Scheer. And in a sense, they just want to roll things back and go back to some of the failed policies of the Harper years. And I don't think we can afford to do that. And you can look at issues like climate change. This is where you see these competing visions really, really clearly. The Liberal Party wants to step up our fight against climate change. We need to do more. We need to reach net zero emissions by 2050 in this country. We need to have a price on carbon. It works. It encourages people to make a difference. The Conservatives would roll back absolutely everything that we've done on climate change. And I just don't think we can afford to do that. So you're going to be faced with a really important choice in the election that's coming up. And as I said, I think there are these competing visions of how we should move forward in this country. You look at policies on taxes. The Liberal government has lowered taxes for Canadians in the middle class. We're proposing further tax cuts, but those tax cuts are for people in middle and lower incomes. The Conservatives will talk about cutting taxes as well, but they're going to cut taxes for the rich also, people who don't need a break. Everything that we do, we need to focus on those who need their government to step up for them. So I just want you to think about the choice that you face. And in some respects, at the national level, this is a choice between Justin Trudeau and Andrew Scheer. And I think we need to be really careful about going down the sort of slippery slope of American-style, Trump-style tweets and personal attacks. We need to be positive. We need to move forward. We cannot afford another Doug Ford in this country. So I am asking you, please, on October 21st, choose forward. Vote for Allan Thompson. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Wendler, and I'm running for the Green Party of Canada, which I feel best suits me. We identify with the values of respect for diversity, biodiversity and such, participatory democracy, ecological wisdom, including Indigenous peoples' ecological knowledge is in our, we value, social justice, sustainability and nonviolence. And on October 21st, I hope that you will consider giving me your vote.